This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater, and I'm joined by a new friend out of Branson, Missouri. It's Joey Bluege, who is the Executive Director and Pastor of Faith Lutheran School, and of course, Branson, Missouri, which I actually love Branson, Missouri. I've been there multiple times, and I'm there every year for a conference at the School of the Ozarks, which is on the campus of College of the Ozarks, which is an awesome place if you guys haven't been. It's a great family-oriented area, very patriotic as well, if you love that, which I hope you do. So I encourage you guys to go visit. But enough of that. We got Mr. Joey on today. And before we jump into all things starting school, church school partnerships, and all of that, I will pass it off to him to introduce himself. So Joey, welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Yeah, Mitchell, I appreciate you having me on. It was neat when we first got to know each other to know we have the connection of Chicago Bears in the background. So at the time of this recording right now, the Bears are having a good season. Hopefully that continues when this is released. But as you mentioned, my name is Joey Bluege. I serve here at Faith Lutheran School. We're our second year now in our school here. Originally from Illinois, but as you talk about College of the Ozarks, that's actually a favorite place for my family as well. I'm an alumni of College of the Ozarks back in 2015, and my family and I are regulars there. We were just there the day before. We'll probably be there again this week at some point because we love the atmosphere of it. The college is a great place for families, for just if you're visiting Branson, be there, check out the Keeter Center. You got to get ice cream there if you're in Branson, but just a wonderful place. So I just appreciate this opportunity to be here with you, and I know that you have many successful school leaders on this podcast, and just honored to maybe share a little bit of what we've learned over the last few years here at Faith.
Love it, man. Well, thanks for being on. Go Bears. As of recording this, obviously we're 4-2, so we'll see if we can keep up with the success and see if Lamar Jackson plays this weekend with Baltimore. We'll see. That'll be the test, the real test for us. I always ask everybody this before we jump into content, and this is exciting too because I've been to Branson. I go to Branson at least every year for a conference, and so this will be a fun question. So I always say this, and maybe I'll know the answer already because I know you love the Keeter Center and College of the Ozarks. But if I was to visit you in Branson, Missouri, what would you say, Mitchell? You need to eat this and do this to experience Branson, Missouri.
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely to experience Silverdale City. My family's there so regular. If you're not there when you're in Branson, that's just something you have to experience. You got to try. Certainly love the Keeter Center for food, but there's a really good barbecue place that's local as well that you need to check out in Branson. It's a place called Oscar's. Actually, from the school where I'm at, it's less than a half mile, so it can be an easy lunch break sometimes to get down to Oscar's. They're only open a few days a week, Wednesday through Saturday, but my goodness, their food is fantastic. So that's a great place. If you haven't checked out that, I would encourage you to try that in Branson.
Okay. I have not been to that one. I'll go to that one. It's a regular for me. I'm a regular at the Poorhouse that I go down there and I get some poutine and some sweet tea, and it's delicious. So anybody going to Branson, go try out the Poorhouse as well. It's delicious. Well,
good. I would say if you come next time you're in Branson, Mitchell, just let me know and I'll meet you at Oscar's, and we'll go enjoy some of that food together.
Love it. All right, good. It's a date. Love it. Well, jumping into content today, I know we kind of obviously talked about this beforehand on our first call we had together, but I'd love to hear a little bit about Faith Lutheran and what you guys are doing. And then I know you guys have really focused on partnerships in a lot of different areas of starting the school. So I'll just kind of let you kick it off. Tell us a little bit about the school and then what you guys have been doing when it comes to partnering with like local churches and what that looks like for you guys.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the intro, we are now in our second academic year right now. So made it through year one, and man, year one's a lot. You're learning a lot of things on the go. And so we started with 6 students in our first year, added a student in the middle of last year, and as we sit here going into year two, we're at 10 students. So we look at as a successful growth rate. It's about 50% growth rate. If you grew by that each year, that would be tremendous to keep doing that. But with kind of our school, how it started, a little bit of it had to do with just looking around to the community. You mentioned you come for a conference with School of the Ozarks, and I know we have a mutual friend in common there, Brad Dolliffe, and with that, they do a fantastic job at School of the Ozarks. Actually, as we were building and growing our school, I got to have a conversation with Brad about what they do. And just a wonderful school that they have. There's a couple other schools in the area that do a great job, and one of the things we were noticing was that some of these schools had waiting lists. I can speak specifically to School of the Ozarks. They almost always have one because of just the quality of education they give and the desire of parents to have their children not only learn about Jesus on the weekends, but also to have that daily faith found formation going on in their children's lives. And so we took a look at that as a church community. And as we were looking around, we said, can we do something about this to help this need? A little thing about Faith Lutheran School that's different than maybe some other school startups is the fact that we're part of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, which nationwide has 1,800 schools from early childhood all the way through college. And so we're part of a network of schools, which gives us access to teachers, access to best practices, access to, we even have our own accrediting association as well. And now this network isn't that every school looks identical to one another. It's not like a franchise model, if you will, to where, we have the same menu, we serve the same people. That's not it at all. It's more of a leadership structure to give you support. But even at 1,800 schools, you can see everything from classical schools to traditional schools to micro schools. You see the plethora of schools throughout that all. And so knowing that we had the backing and support of that, that gave us some confidence to look at meeting that need, to call on administrators and leaders around the country and locally and learn from them to see how we can do it best. Because I'm not an educator by background. I may be the director of the school and I'm a pastor. But when I graduated from College of the Ozarks, I graduated with a degree in marketing and psychology. Very helpful for school startups, but has nothing to do with academia in that way. So between those two and then having a master's in divinity, certainly I've been in enough school, but I've had to rely on knowing people and the leadership of people and sometimes reaching out with a cold call to some people and just say, hey, would you be willing to help with just passing on some information? And that's kind of how we got started and kind of got the ball rolling here at Faith.
That's awesome. Well, I know God will call you to it. He'll bring you through it type of thing. And so he's like, you know what? He needs some marketing. He needs psychology because, yes, he's going to use that later on to market the school, teach and pour into these students, pour into people as well.
Yeah.
So I love that. As you obviously went to go launch, tell me a little bit about finding a facility, finding a building. Was this something that was just you already had one or because of this partnership with the church or is it not partnered with the church? What's the makeup of your school at the moment?
Yeah, great question. So one of our biggest blessings was having a building, having classrooms available for us. So the church here itself that we are partnered with has been serving the Branson community since the mid 1950s. Been around for a while, and in the early 2000s, there was a dream of this congregation to one day have a school. And they were going through some process of trying to make that happen. And the events at the time, early 2000s, they weren't able to get what they needed to have a school here. We are situated in the middle of a neighborhood, and at that time, they weren't able to get the permit based on the zoning to have a school here. So they were kind of like, okay, not sure what's next for us, but we still feel at some point, God is going to bring a school here. And again, this is way before my time. I mean, I'm less than 10 years old at this point in history. They went on faith to I think about roughly 2004, 2005. They decided to undergo a major building project, which is the facility we have today for the school. So with that, they built full-size gymnasium, commercial kitchen, 7 classroom spaces as well. And again, built that on faith of just saying, I don't know what you're doing, God, but we believe at some point this is going to be used to a greater capacity. And at the time they built it, they may have thought that they were going to have a feeder. There was a daycare at that time. And unfortunately, with what happened to the daycare in 2008, during the recession, the daycare had to close. And so you almost wonder what they're thinking as they go through. And there's some leaders that are still in this congregation that were there at the time. Just the setback that must have felt like, where you build this building, think you got the future, and then you close your feeder program that could have potentially made the school. But that wasn't the end of their story. And here we are, almost 25 years after that original kind of dream, that original vision started. Here we are having a school and making that happen. And that's thankful to people that are still here, that were here in the beginning, and some people who have gone on to be with Jesus at this point that didn't get to see the fulfillment of the dream. But I don't see that any different than when you look at Abraham and the promises that God gave to him. And while he didn't see the end results of all those promises, they still are fulfilled. And we see God just fulfilling and his faithfulness to continue Christian education through this church and school here together in Branson.
I love that. And here's what's really cool about your story. You, like you said yourself, you don't have the background in education, but you were felt led to start this and to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so to do that, you could try and just figure it out on your own, which I know there's a piece of that you've already had to do on your own, but you partnered
Mm-hmm.
with the association, the Lutheran Association, but you've also, I know you mentioned in one of our first conversations, leaning on other churches and schools and like having to just swallow your pride. I love to kind of just
Mm-hmm.
open up. What does that look like for saying like, I don't know what I don't know. And so leaning
Mm-hmm.
on others for that. What did that look like? Who did you kind of tap into for those things?
Yeah, so I started kind of within our network of schools first. And that's not as much challenging because, for example, if I call a school, trying to think of where I called one for, I know I called some from other states. They're not a competitor. They have no skin in the game. Like that's a pretty easy ask, to do that in that way. It's a lot different when you're calling someone like, like I mentioned, Brad over at School of the Ozarks. We could directly impact them, though they have a waiting list that it doesn't seem as much of an impact. But I just remember sitting down with Brad, and you might know Sue Head there at the college, and sitting down with them early on in the process and just their willingness to share information, their willingness to talk about their process, to let us walk through, to see and experience. And I appreciate that ministry mindset. There's a book, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but it has to do with this idea that sometimes within ministries we can get very competitive with each other and forgetting that we're really on the same team, focusing on the same goal. And that's the Christian education aspect of that. There's plenty of people in our community that don't know Jesus, that want their children embraced in schools like these. And so it's looking, how can we work together? Even if I remember a conversation of saying, look, we may have a student at some point that doesn't fit us, but might fit your school. And why wouldn't I want to refer that on? And same the other way, because while one school may be classical, we're not classical. And so both have their pros and cons to the models. And so we've sometimes referred students elsewhere because we can't serve their needs, or we're not a good fit, but sharing with, hey, this might be a better fit for you right here. And let me help you make a contact with them as well. So, yeah, it takes a little bit of remembering that we are working toward the same thing, which is this Christian education for the children in our community.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please, please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. Yeah, the big C church. You know, I see this happen across churches and across schools all the time, which it just, and honestly, just kind of like it's sad sometimes where there's that competition where. And I get it, because if they are across the street or very, very close to each other, I get it. But at the same time, if we're all truly going after the same thing of like educating children to love the Lord and to know Him personally, it's like, all right, we're all doing the same thing, same goal. And so why would you not want to help somebody? And I remember hearing this from somebody actually on a recent episode. I don't even know if it's aired yet, but they were talking afterwards about they were with they're highly partnered with the Herzog Foundation and getting resources from the Herzog Foundation, and she knew that there's another school that was more so struggling in their area, but she's like, I don't think they know about the Herzog Foundation, but I don't want them to know our secret about the Herzog Foundation.
Yeah.
And she finally was like, what am I doing? Why would I not want to help this other school to be thriving? And so she finally shared the Herzog Foundation with them and let them know about the resources, and now they've dove into what the resources were, and now they're doing better. The school's like doing better after they've gotten connected to the Herzog Foundation. And so it's like, yeah, it's the big goal. It's like, I know it's hard, but it's swallowing our pride, which I know we all struggle with that. Christians and non-Christians, we all struggle with pride. Obviously, the Lord's warned us about that many times in Scripture. About pride is one we're all going to have to deal with, and it's a tough one. So love that you have worked through that.
Well, and I forgot to mention too, it's not just other Christian schools, but I think of, I sat down with one of our public school district leaders at one point, who was more than willing to just encourage and to share information. And with that, I mean, technically, we would be a competitor to them too. If you look at it that way, if a student's coming here, they're not going to the public schools. And I won't forget the first day of school that we had last year, of getting a text from him and just saying, "Hey, glad to have you as a partner here in the community." And to hear that again, just public school, private school, it's getting to that what's best for the student, and that's where parents know their children better than we're going to know them as teachers, administrators, school leaders, and really trying to fit the need that fits that student. Whether that be public school or private school or this private school or that one, how can we best serve them? And that's kind of our mission with that.
Yeah, amen. Well, I know it wasn't just a walk in the park to get this school started for you. I know there were some hurdles that happened back in 2001 in the community. I'd love you to kind of share it with the audience what all transpired for back then as well as now to get this school started.
Yeah. So as I mentioned briefly before, 2001, where our school is situated is in the middle of a neighborhood. And so based on the zoning, it requires what's called a special use permit. That's not a permit you have to reapply for all the time. It's just you have to get that permit the first time, then you hold the permit. And so the way I understand it happened earlier was that there was thought that it was going to be easy, not much trouble at all with that. And the neighborhood didn't respond as well to it at that time. And so they didn't get the permit they had desired or wished for. And so they weren't able to have the school then. So you fast forward to 2023, and even before we said we were going to launch a school, or even as a congregation, I'll talk about that later, to start a school, we wanted to go get the special use permit first so that we knew clearly we could make the steps forward. And so the approach we took this year or at that time, was we were going to spend time getting to know neighbors in the surrounding area around us. And I tell you what, I don't necessarily love cold calls. I don't know how the general listening audience feels about cold calls. I think for many of us, it can make us kind of nervous, especially when you don't know anybody. And and so as I was starting to go door to door, I really did not enjoy the first couple that I did, because it's like, okay, what are they going to respond? However, the approach that I ended up taking to it was this way. I would get to know one of the neighbors, and the first couple were kind of uncomfortable, but once you got to know someone and start to talk with them a little bit, I would then, as finishing up the conversation, and I'd hear a lot of supportive people. I'd ask them before I go. I say, "Hey, can you tell me the name of one of your neighbors directly around you?" And the reason why I did that was I have found that people are a little bit, I guess, more open to having a conversation, or are more receptive to you when you can talk on a first name basis. Because there's that personalization to it as well, and it made it a lot more comfortable to me as well, as I'm knocking, and I can say, hi Bob, or hi, hi Susan. When I can call someone by their first name, it kind of humanized the situation right away. And so I went door to door between, just starting with some people I didn't know, to then the city. They shared with us, we could see the addresses of all they had to send notice to. And so I'd look at the names on those lists and then go through that as well. But we found a very high receptiveness rate to the school then at that point. I'm not going to say it was 100%. There were a couple people that had some concerns, I would say. I wouldn't say they were just completely against the school, but they had some concerns about it. And I will tell you, I still got to have positive conversations with even the people that maybe were concerned about having it here. But overall, between almost 30 people we talked to, we had over 90% of people were very positive toward that. And so when we presented that to the city Planning and Zoning Commission at our meeting, and the work that we had done ahead of time, unanimously, they approved our permit, which then allowed us to take the next steps towards starting the school at that point. And I'll tell you, Mitchell, the one thing that got me through the nervousness of making cold calls, and I hope this would be encouraging to somebody else listening, is I had to tell myself, my uncomfortableness is not meant to be an obstacle to the gospel. Like, just because I'm uncomfortable with something, if it's becoming a hindrance to the gospel, or because I'm not willing to go, but it's going to help, I said, I got to get over that, because I believe that this school is going to have a gospel impact. And Jesus doesn't always call us to comfortable lives. And so that's kind of what pushed me through. And if there's someone else nervous about that right now, I hope that might be something that pushes them through as well. They see the end goal in mind, and the positive difference their school can make.
I'm sure there's plenty listening that are like, I signed up to do a school, not cold calling or like door knock, and I came
Yeah.
to be an educator or whatever. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that, but sometimes it has to be done. It sounds like I've encouraged school leaders to go around to meet like the local youth pastors and children's pastors and different people that could be a potential like referral source for them to
Mhm.
like refer potential students to them. And I know they're like, I gotta go meet more people outside the school. I know that scares people, and I think I have my moments where that's a little freaky too. But I'm also a huge extrovert, and so if I know what I'm supposed to talk about, what I'm supposed to present, it's pretty easy. Obviously, pushback. I'm sure of those three or so that were like had their they weren't bought in with it. I'm sure those are a little bit more difficult to navigate. But at the end of the day, you're there, you're providing a good product, you're wanted by most people. I feel like that was hopefully helpful. And I feel like, tell me
Mhm.
if I'm wrong, Joey, but as you're doing that, if you know your product, obviously your school, what you're going to offer, what you're wanting to
Mhm.
do, if you know that really well, the confidence that brings when you are going to present this is way better than going, so we have this idea that we
Mhm.
think we're going to do this, and that makes it worse, because one, you're going to feel not confident, so you're going to lack that, and then they're going to see right through that you're not confident either. Would you say that was
Mhm.
true, and you came in with confidence and made it a lot easier?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I mean, I wouldn't lie to people and say, like, this is exactly how it's going to be, because
Sure.
I can't guarantee you it's going to be exactly like this, but this is the end goal in mind. This is kind of where we're aiming. This is where we think we'll be. And these are the ways we're working to make sure that what we're setting up here doesn't become a nuisance or just troubling to you in the neighborhood. Like for us, the biggest concern was usually traffic. That's why most people, it's like we were bringing more traffic down the street. And so it was part of that plan was saying, hey, we're working with the city to develop this plan so that you don't feel like now my neighborhood's overrun with people. Lots of people here. And I think that brought people a sense of comfort that, like you said, we had some confidence going into it. And we weren't just saying, hey, I don't know what's going to work, but would you be okay with this in that
Yeah.
way?
Good. Well, I know with what you guys are doing, you guys have a partnership with the church. I know
Yeah.
there is pros and cons to
Mhm.
schools partnering with churches and schools being fully independent, whether in their own building or in a church, but still 100% independent from the church and they just rent. I would love to hear, and I see pros and cons. I see both sides of this.
Mhm.
I would love to hear your side, your perspective with your partnership that you guys have with the church, just so others can see, oh, there's multiple ways that you can do this as a school and how yours is specifically going.
Yeah. I will tell you one of the largest blessings to this school in our situation is that we are a congregational school. And trust me, I know there can be cons to that because I've seen schools that do not have a supportive church body around them or a church community, and that can make it very difficult to do the school business. For us, our church membership, our congregation is very, very supportive of the school. And I don't just mean financially. They are highly supportive financially, but they are highly invested as well with the way they serve, the way they encourage, the way that they are involved outside of just financial means. And I'll give you an example of that. We do a lunch buddy program here at our school. And what that is it allows each student to know they have another caring adult in their life. So two times a month, we've got people who have volunteered, who have been background checked to be having one-on-one conversations with our students at lunchtime. And I'll tell you, it doesn't just impact the students, but the adult volunteers that most of them are retired individuals for the most part. They are blessed as well by it. And these kids aren't necessarily coming from troubled homes. Some may have a tough situation. Some may have great home lives, but yet they know for sure they have another adult who shows up in their life, who cares about them as a person. And that has meant so much to the program that we do here and the education that we do here. This congregation believes in wanting this school to happen. And one of the ways we've set up a good relationship is we have been very, especially when we were building the school, almost every week, if not every other week, I was writing basically a school update, like where are we at, what's going on, because I find that usually where things start to go bad is when people start writing their own narratives, when they don't know what's going on. And you start to make assumptions like, I haven't heard about this. I wonder what's going on here. And we didn't do it perfectly. There are plenty of times I look back and it's like, I wish we would have done this maybe a little bit different. But we tried to do the best of our ability, be very upfront, be very transparent, and make sure that we were sharing the story so that people didn't have to write a narrative, that they could feel confident. And I'll tell you, Mitchell, we missed our target big in year one. We missed our target just a little bit in year two with enrollment, but not as big as year one. And when you miss targets, that can be devastating sometimes where people are like, I don't know if this is I don't know if this is going to be the real thing. Like, did we make a mistake here? And yet I think back to so many people, leadership and just regular members of the congregation, they're saying we got started and we're excited. Like they weren't just devastated by missing the target goal with enrollment, but they were encouraging as they've seen it grow this year. They continue to be encouraging, and that has been a huge blessing to us here. At the end of the day, where I see it is like this congregation they have to own the school here in our specific situation. And the reason being is because leaders come and go. Whatever happens, some leaders may go to a different school. Whatever happens, retirement at some point. But the school's got to be beyond just the people that sit on staff. And so I have with confidence right now that this congregation's bought into it so much that they will continue to support it. Even my hope is for many generations to come.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. So I got two more questions for you, Joey. So obviously you're in year 2 of doing this. If you could rewind, is there one thing specifically you would do differently, or like either not do it all or do differently that you now looking back on going, dang, I wish I had known this then?
Yeah, that's a great question. Trying to think, I'm like, I wish I would have thought that one through ahead of time. Um, I would say, and this relates a little bit to the last thought. Um, I wish I would have made sure that I was even more transparent in some things, and it was never in a deceptive trying to hide things. It was just a failure to communicate some things as often as I could have. And I think that would have helped us with. I'm not saying we've faced major hurdles or major roadblocks. People have been very forgiving. Um, so that's one thing. But two, as I talked about targets in the last one, I wish we would have just looked at comps a little bit better and looked at startup schools and where they normally start. We made our estimate based on waiting lists and not necessarily what does a regular school startup get, because we're not far off the targets from a second year school. And I think that would have helped a little bit to be a little bit more realistic in our goals from the beginning.
Okay. Well, I got one final question for you before we wrap it up today, and everybody gets the same question. So, if you were to share one final piece of advice for the school leaders listening, what would your one final piece of advice be?
Yeah, I guess my final piece of advice is to be someone, or to, I guess I would say, part of it's swallowing pride that we talked about, um, and just be willing to reach out to others for help. Um, I think that's a struggle for our culture sometimes, to ask out for help. I get the feeling we want to be self-reliant. We want to look like we have our lives all put together, and I'm included, and I'm including myself in this. I don't always like asking other people for help. I feel like it means that I don't have things as well together as I could have. Um, and really, the way God's designed us is for community. It's for being. We are dependent creatures. We're not independent. We are dependent upon God, and really, we're dependent on each other as well. And our school wouldn't be where it's at today if it weren't for the people that would take my phone call and be willing to share information, handbooks, budgets. Our school wouldn't be where we're at today if it weren't for people like Stanley Herzog, who had a vision of leaving his fortune to start school startups, and the Herzog Foundation direction to say, hey, uh, we're not just going to pour money into individual schools and just give grants that way. We're going to build leaders and do leadership things. Like, it's because of that, and because of us you, networking with other people, that we are where we're at today. And so my final piece of advice would just kind of get to that. We're dependent, and that's okay. That's part of how God created us. We are always dependent upon God, and to be willing to make that tough phone call sometimes, and to swallow the pride, and to ask someone for help. Uh, I think you end up a little bit more surprised how many people are willing to help, than not.
I love that advice. Well, Joey, thank you for taking time out of your day to, one, hop on the podcast, but two, thank you so much for following the call of the Lord on your life, for starting the school and helping to keep it running and growing. And I'm praying that you guys will grow year over year. At 50% year over year would be awesome if you could keep that up every year. And just thank you for leading so well and loving all your students that you guys have. Wishing you guys nothing but the best.
Yeah, well, Mitchell, thank you for getting out there and sharing the stories. I think by you sharing stories and giving encouragement, that's going to boost other school leaders so that God's work can continue to get done.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Joey for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love what he's doing over at Faith Lutheran School, and I'm wishing them nothing but the best as they continue to grow and educate the next generation that's coming behind us. And as always, I'm hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Always some good takeaways. So, and as always, guys, you can always go back and re-listen to it. And as I always do, 1.5 speed. It's my best friend listening to podcasts back on 1.5 speed. So if you need to, go do that to pull some more knowledge out of it. Before you guys go, I know you've heard this spiel before, but I'm giving it to you again. And it is our 3 free resources available here at School Success that I do want to make sure you are taking advantage of. The first one, you're doing it already. It is the podcast. The School Success Podcast drops new episodes every single Monday morning. We want to make sure you're not missing those. We put a ton of time and resources into bringing you guys this free of charge every single week. And we want to make sure you're not missing out. So if you're not yet subscribed, subscribe. We'd love to make sure you are listening to these each and every week. The second resource is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. Top right-hand corner is a button, the School Success Report. Goes directly to your inbox every single week with different articles the team has either found or written to help you be more successful. We want to make sure you're not missing out on that as well. Last but not least is our free private Facebook community called School Success Makers. Completely free. I'm personally in there. Would love to see you in there as well. It's a way to get connected with other school leaders across the country, ask questions, get connected, and find some other friends in the education space. So go over there and join that today. And that's all I got for you guys. So we will be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.